Okay, hi there, guys. Thank you for joining me for the Tribecast this morning with no Jake. Hang on, I'm just going to put out that we are live. All right. Okay, all right then, guys. That should be working as a link. Let me see. All right, let's put on some tunes as well in the background because I feel like that's always a positive when we have some music, some ones and tunes. Let's put some chill music. Oh, that's a vibe. Oh yeah, cool, sick. It's the small things in life. Right then, guys. So what we're going to be talking about today then is all of the questions from the Tribe coaching group. We're going to make our way through these one by one, and we're going to get started from the top. So we'll give everybody like a few minutes just to tune in. So make sure we're all here before I start answering these, and then someone joins and they've missed their question. And they asked me to re-describe what I've already said. Hopefully you all had a good weekend, guys. Hopefully you're all refreshed. It's lovely to have the sun back out. Oh my God. We went to a wedding on the weekend and it was absolutely amazing. It was incredible. So massive difference the sun makes. Okay. All right then, guys. That's a bit too upbeat. Okay, so let's get stuck into these questions then, guys. So chill hop. Right. So first question then for the day, we're going to get stuck into Claire's. Can't think of a specific question, but hormones are playing a huge part in my journey at the moment. I have a blood test booked. I know what meds I need, HRT and metformin, but doctor won't prescribe as I'm under 40. So I guess something around navigating this. Okay, that's a tricky one. So HRT should be prescribed based off of your blood work anyway. It doesn't matter whether you're 20, 30, or 40. That's if you are deficient in estrogen, progesterone, then you need that replaced regardless. There is other medication that you can take that will hopefully kickstart your LH and your FSH. So things like HCG is pretty good, but I'm doubtful that a doctor would prescribe that. Long story short, if your doctor is not prescribing you HRT off the back of having deficient hormone levels, that is not good, and they are not doing the right job there. What might be worth doing at that point is going to a HRT clinic. I know it's going to cost a little bit of money, but in a way, at least you're gaining more ammunition to go back to your doctor and say, look, if a HRT clinic, people that specifically are medically trained in hormones are wanting to prescribe me this, why can I not get this on the NHS? And then that will give you enough ammunition to call the doctor out. And at that point, they should prescribe it. I think doctors are just wary about prescribing HRT medication because they don't know enough about hormones. And I work with lots of doctors, and I've even had to review their patients' blood work before they've come into my office and they've asked for my advice on stuff because they're not really well versed up on hormonal profiles. They're actually more there and focused on trying to find major problems with your body when it comes to like your major organs. They're more responsive than they are preventative. So as I mentioned there, if you are deficient in estrogen, progesterone, if your prolactin is high, they should prescribe you HRT, or they should at least give you some way to be able to get your LH, your luteinizing hormone, and your follicular stimulating hormone, FSH, back up to where it needs to be to stimulate your ovaries to produce the level of estrogen they need to be producing. When it comes to metformin, don't really understand why they won't prescribe it, because again, it's preventative rather than responsive. It's one and the same sometimes, but what it does is it allows you to be able to deal with blood glucose a lot better. So you should be able to get that prescribed if you cannot manage that yourself, because it is something that is there for type 2 diabetes. And if they feel like you're on that route towards being insulin resistant to a point where you're basically going to become a type 2 diabetic, they should prescribe it, because it's there to pull your glucose back into line, to make you more insulin sensitive again, so then you don't need it further downstream. I've had clients I work with that have taken metformin and then literally got their diet in check. It's allowed them to lose enough body fat to the point where they don't need metformin anymore. So talk to them about, ask them why they're not prescribing it, and say, what's the difference with being over 40? Why do I need to be over 40? Why does it need to be that specific age? And then, yeah, go from there. I would push for metformin if you know that's something that you definitely need. Equally, that's about the doctor telling you exactly why they're not wanting to prescribe it, right? So like, if they're just telling you it's because you have to be over 40, that's not a good enough reason. They need to tell you exactly why scientifically. And if they can't, then see another doctor. I know for a fact that metformin has been prescribed to people in their 30s before, because they have not been able to manage their blood glucose. So, and then again, once they've lost weight, because again, if you've got better management of your blood glucose, you lose body fat faster. If at that point, these people have lost a lot of weight because they've put their body in position to lose a lot of body fat, they then can come off of metformin because they've got a better rate of dispersal with their own blood glucose without using metformin. So hopefully that answers your question there. Right, so next one. In relation to journey, what advice would you give people looking for short and long-term goal setting to keep them disciplined and focused? It's a good one. So it's definitely important to have short and long-term goals. I'm a massive believer of lots of short-term goals. I think for me, the main issue with adherence comes when someone only has one goal set in mind. So for me, I've found it with a lot of bodybuilding prep clients that they'll prep for a specific show, and afterwards adherence just falls completely off because they've got nothing else to look towards. So if you're on a journey, say for example, even if you're not in a bodybuilding prep, or if you're not in a performance prep for an event or something like that, if it is just like a fat loss phase, about a month out from achieving your result, you should be looking to set another goal further downstream for something completely different, or maybe another body goal, for example, to allow you to get to where you want to be. And then as soon as you are where you want to be, it's almost like, cool, we don't stop, we just change direction. And that massively helps with adherence. I found for me, if I've had a goal after a goal, I'm like straight back on plan. I have a couple of, don't get me wrong, if I've done a bodybuilding prep, I've had like a week off or something like that. But then I'm like, oh, I can't wait to work towards this new thing. And that's so important. You need short-term goals, consistent short-term goals. Every like 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, you need to have something you're going for. Even if that's just a photo shoot. That's really valuable and really important. Okay. Should I be feeling it more after each session? Should I be getting DOMs? How do you know you're pushing hard enough and training efficiently? So you shouldn't get DOMs after every session. Sometimes DOMs is a bad thing. It means that you're not having enough emphasis on recovery. You should be able to recover from your sessions. Ultimately, to keep it nice and simple here, training efficiently comes down to you being on top of your form. Yeah, like we all know when reps are good and when they're bad. If you're doing a barbell bench press and week 1, you were doing full range of motion and now we're like 50% of that range. Okay, cool. We're not training efficiently, right? However, the metric of overall progress is performance. If our form is exactly the same as week 1, now we've got 10 more kilos on the bar. you're doing well. That's all we need to do. You just need to keep that trajectory moving forwards. Whether that gives you DOMs or not isn't necessarily a dictation as to whether or not it was good enough. Yeah, as long as the weights are going up, as long as performance is going up, whether we've got an additional rep, whether form's improved or weight's gone up, that is progress. It's as simple as that. Doesn't need to be any more complex. How important is getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night compared to 5 to 6 hours? I would say from personal experience, massively it's not just the physical, it's the mental, yeah. I know for me, if I am sleep deprived, I'm less motivated, a little bit more touchy, I would say. Maddie would probably tell you a lot more touchy, and just not as driven, right? So from a physical standpoint, 5 to 6 hours versus 7 to 8 hours. I've got guys like Chris, for example, he sleeps like 4 hours, 5 hours a night. It's just what he's always done. He recovers fine from the gym. It allows him to progress. But the mental benefits of getting 7 to 8 hours sleep at night means you come into the gym more motivated, you come into the gym more switched on, therefore you are going to push harder, which will net you more progress downstream. So you've got to think of more of the longer term benefits of getting more sleep. Not just that, but every other aspect of your life as well. If every other aspect of your life is good because your motivation is high, then ultimately you're going to enjoy the gym more, right? If you go into the gym and stress is really high because you're so tired, because you're not sleeping enough, and work's stressful because you're not doing what you need to do, you're going to carry that stress into the gym. And it takes you getting to the end of your set. Like I get there, I'm sure you guys get there as well, where you're like, oh my God, I can't be fucked, you know, because your stress is so high. And you're just like, I'm ready to tap out anyway before I even started this set of a leg press, for example. Whereas if everything's comfortable and you're like, I'm smashing, my relationship's good, my work is good, my business is good, everything is solid, it's like, cool, I'm going to make sure this session is good. So yeah, absolutely. I think 7 to 8 hours is very, very valuable. Very valuable when it comes to overall long-term progress. And when it comes to like elite physiques, the people at the top of the game, those guys are very much on their sleep. Very, very much. I would literally, I can promise you that. Like from being around a lot of like pro athletes, my God, the emphasis on sleep quality is huge. And I think that is a huge lever that people need to pull. Sonia, I'm finding I've lost my motivation regarding my plan, but not attending the gym. This is due to experiencing a very stressful, heartbreaking, soul-destroying time at the moment. How do I navigate this to be able to regain focus? Okay, so this is a good one because this is something that we've all been through. Okay, so to put it in perspective, trying to relate with this, last year before last, I was in prep and I lost my nan and my granddad in a very short period of time. And I was really close to my granddad, especially my granddad. My granddad pretty much raised me when I was a kid after school. Like, he would always, my nan would pick me up, we'd go back to my granddad's house, and my granddad was this like super strong, like ex-RAF character in my life. And I had to go and see him the day before he passed away. It was really hard. And for me, I remember going to Maddie. Maddie was there like, you know, if you don't need to do meal prep, then don't worry about it. You're going through all this stuff. And I was like, no, I need to get it done. Like, I need to do it because ultimately these things pass, right? And it sounds really weird, but my granddad wouldn't have wanted me to stop on my goals for him. He was our ex-RAF. Like, I was like, absolutely, you should be smashing your goals. Disregard everything. Like, you know, be driven, be hard. Like, you know, it's ex-military. So for me, if he was looking down on me and he saw that I was half-hearting my own goals, or, you know, whatever I was doing at the time, he'd be disappointed. But like, why are you letting me get in the way of your goals? And he was always massively supportive of me building my own life and striving towards what I wanted to achieve. So I think understanding sometimes that these phases do come in people's lives, but they do pass as well, okay? And the last thing you want is to get to the point where it has passed and you now feel better, and now you're like, damn it, I wish I really had put my heart and soul into the last 3 months, because you being on your meal plan, you being on your training program, is making the gym a hell of a lot easier. Number one, you get all your meals prepped in the morning. So that means that, perfect, you don't have to worry about finding food for the rest of the day. You've got so much left of your day now to be able to just focus on the other things that need more attention. With the training side of things, it's super, super linear. I've given you exercises, I've given you rep range. All you need to do is turn up. I know that's not, you said there it's not an issue, but it just keeps everything nice and streamlined. So it's like, cool, just make these meals in the morning, make sure you hit these exercises, done. You are doing the most you could possibly do to get to your goal. And as long as you see it as that, a bit like a shopping list, just get it done. Spend the rest of your time focusing on your life and whatever needs to be focused on. But ultimately, understand it will pass. And where you want to be is going, oh, thank God I stuck to my meal plan. Thank God I stuck to my training program. Because when it does pass, you'll be 6 steps forwards rather than 6 steps back. Okay? And it is a case of, you may not enjoy it at the moment. It might be a ball ache to do. But most of the incredible things in life that you will experience will have come off the back of being disciplined when you don't want to. Right? So very important to remember that. Hopefully that helps. Thoughts on using wraps, straps for compound movements? Any negatives? Not really. No, I wouldn't say there's any negatives there at all. I would say probably it depends on you as an individual. Like for me, if I'm doing a deadlift, I do like a grip and rip style deadlift where I set up and then I stand up. Then I brace into my core from a stood up position because you can get more oxygen down to your diaphragm. And ultimately, the more oxygen you get in your diaphragm, the more your abdominal wall is going to be braced. So then I breathe up here and then I go down and grab the bar and pull. So I can't stay down the bottom for very long because due to my levers, I've got long legs and a long body, I'm a lanky fucker. So basically, if I'm down onto the bar, I'm kind of hunched over, which means it's going to limit the amount of oxygen that I get into my stomach. Therefore, my core isn't as braced and my back could be pulled. So that's why I can't use straps for a really heavy deadlift. When I've deadlifted like 300 kilos before, if you watch the video, it was like legitimately like up, straight down, grab the bar and pull. So if you need that breath at the top, then straps aren't great. If you don't, if you can get enough air in your core whilst using straps, then absolutely fine. And equally, if you can't grip the bar because of your hand size, if you've got small hands and it just keeps slipping, you're gonna need to use straps. So it's all about using what you need to be able to ultimately get the weight to go linearly up. Yeah, straps are there to facilitate you progressing. Okay, if you find out they're limiting your progression, then take them off. If you find that they're benefiting your progression, put them on. Simple as that. Okay. Simon, why do my quads hurt so much at rest and feel painful to walk on when I first wake up after a night's sleep? It usually settles after about 30 minutes once I get going on my daily dog walk. Okay, so you've got another question here as well. Also, why is it so important to spread each meal out throughout the day as I tend to eat my last 2 meals back to back? How will this affect me? Okay, so we're going to talk about the first one first. So generally, if it's a consistent thing, that'll be a blood flow issue. So that'll mean that if you imagine that most of the nutrients for recovery pass through the bloodstream, there is clearly, when you're led down, an issue with blood flow to your legs, which means that knowing you're a very quadricep heavy guy, dude. Like, you have big quads. So for you, I would say it's definitely worth maybe popping to the doctors about and talking about like the fact that you may have a blood flow issue to your legs, and then they can do things like potentially prescribe you blood thinners, or they'll recommend you a lifestyle change to be able to allow your blood to be slightly thinner, potentially. But it's blood flow, so that isolates that one. It won't be that your training's wrong or anything like that. It just means recovery is hampered, and it's not anything that you need to worry about too much in terms of like overall health or anything. It just means that you're gonna, you'd love to be able to wake up and feel like you're recovered in your quads as much as you are in your chest. So definitely just book in to see a GP and mention it, because they'll be able to give you a little bit more direction with that. If you want to try and enhance blood flow yourself, again, you can find loads of quadricep stretch routines on YouTube. that will not negatively impact you. I'm not a massive fan of hip stretches because ultimately your hips get tight in response to squats and things like that, and they do need to get tight to stop you from going too low and pulling you back. But for quads, there's lots of good routines that you can use to enhance blood flow down to your quadriceps by just stretching off any potential tight muscle tissue. So, but yeah, book in to see a GP anyway and see what they recommend from that. When it comes to spreading each meal out throughout the day, you have this signal inside of your muscle cells called the mTOR pathway. Now, the mTOR pathway, the way it works, I'm going to try and keep this simplistic and not too overly scientific, is imagine it's like a light switch on and off for building muscle, right? So when the mTOR pathway is on, you are building muscle and dropping body fat. When the mTOR pathway is off, we are just generally losing weight, and that could mean bone density, that could be muscle tissue alongside body fat, right? The goal for us for body composition is to grow as much muscle as possible and to lose as much body fat as possible, okay? Not saying we have to be a bodybuilder, but the more muscle that we have, ultimately, the more calories we burn at rest, which means it's a hell of a lot easier to be able to pull body fat off and to be able to maintain body composition as well. So when it comes to that, to be able to keep the mTOR switch on, you need frequent protein feedings every like 3 to 4 hours. It's generally triggered, the mTOR switch is triggered by protein synthesis, right? So that's why we space our meals out throughout the day, every 3 to 4 hours, is to be able to trigger that switch to stay on throughout the day for as long as possible. If we bottleneck all of our calories up to the end of the day, we are potentially finding there's going to be a part of our day that is missing that switch being on, which means that there's like 2 to 3% every day. We could be building up to 2 to 3% more muscle, which doesn't sound like a lot, okay, on a daily basis. And it's not a lot on a daily basis, but by the end of like 3 or 4 months, that equates to a large percentage that could be added to your body, which could improve body composition massively. So hopefully that helps on answering that one. Also as well, from a thyroid standpoint as well, it's very good for your thyroid to be able to continually eat throughout the day, because when you're in a deficit as well and you're trying to lose body fat, there's this huge signal for starvation, which means your thyroid down regulates. If you have frequent protein feedings, you're literally negating that happening, because your body is like, oh, you see, starving, and you get food coming in. It's like, oh, okay, maybe not. So that's the best way to kind of go against that. Andrew, what foods are good for ligament and tendon repair? So there isn't really a good food for ligament and tendon repairs. It's more about food quality. I realize I haven't had the chat open. Oh shit. I've got loads of questions here. Hang on. I'll put them on the screen. Yo, okay. Jake, missing you already. Liam, bro, it was one time. Okay. And I find elbow sleeves feel very supportive and heavy pressing movements. Any negative for these? Yeah, elbow sleeves are good for those, bro. If it helps you, again, if it facilitates progress, then fine. I will get to the question about foods in a second, just before I answer these questions. No worries, Simon, anytime. And yo, Harry, how you doing, bro? Okay, so foods for ligament and tendon repair. So going back to this, the main thing really is that we don't have any inflammatory foods, right? Anything that's going to inflame the body is going to be a negative for ligaments and tendons. So if you imagine anything that's going to cause any digestive or GI distress, so if you have GI or digestive distress, your body will be spending a lot of its energy trying to fix your stomach and trying to process the food that's in there that it can't ultimately process very well. So if you imagine 30% of the energy of your body is going towards digestion, then that 30% could be taken away from that if your digestion was good and applied somewhere else, in this case, ligaments and tendons, right? So we're looking for minimizing any inflammatory foods that may cause a downstream inflammation effect. Generally, that comes down to sticking to whole foods. Generally, whole foods, low FODMAP foods are great. FODMAP foods is a different subject. I could talk about that for like an hour. But low FODMAP foods are really, really good at lowering down inflammation. Processed foods tend to be the ones that people struggle with, just because there's loads of preservatives, additives, things that your body was never really meant to process. you will find inflammation markers will skyrocket off the back of that. And I have even found from some clients who have very sensitive digestion, even something as simple as like a packet of crisps will throw inflammation markers up through the roof. And generally, you know that because you can see your weight spike, right? Most people will have like a, I don't know, like a heavily processed meal if they've gone out and they've had something like fast food wise that they've had, and then their weight's jumped up by 1 to 2 pounds, like almost a day after. There's water retention there in response to high sodium, but also inflammation will be high as well. So try and avoid processed foods as much as possible. Try and stick with whole foods, and then you're doing the utmost you possibly can for ligament and tendon repair. And then obviously anything above and beyond that, like BPC 157, TB 500, those things are really, really good. And just rehab and just rehab and physio work. When it comes to Beth, women's time of the month, and how can this impact overall energy performance? Massively. It tends to be whatever phase of your period you're in. There is a week, the week before your period, where you feel really fucking strong in the gym. The week after, you may feel okay. The second week in, you just, bro, it's like performance is just plummeted down. Third week is kind of, again, feeling the same as the second. So it all really does work on like your follicular phase, your ovulation phase, all those things. It all plays a massive part. So yeah, it does definitely matter. And it definitely matters with your scale weight as well. And that's why if you are in a fat loss phase as a female who does have heavy periods or suffers from a lot of hormonal fluctuation in those time of the months and in the months upcoming to it, or the weeks upcoming to it, then you have to take a loose view on the scales, because the scales will not always tell you what's actually going on in the body. Because if water retention is slightly higher 1 week due to a hormonal imbalance, then that's not going to be, scale weight is not going to tell you the body fat that you lost. It's actually going to tell you the direct opposite. It's going to say, look, you're a pound heavier. You're like, fuck, it's thrown you off course. When in reality, underneath that water retention, you have lost a pound of body fat. That's why it's important for coaching, because for us, it's like, look, you've got nothing to worry about. And again, I feel like a lot of people think that for us as coaches, we're kind of telling them what they want to hear versus what they need to hear. I'm incredibly linear with my clients. I know the guys are the same. If I don't think you push hard enough, then I will tell you that you need to push harder. I've done that with people already. I've done that with people. I do it with people all the time. If progress is good, I will tell you it's good. If your scale weight is up, but actually body composition is better, I will also tell you that it's good. And don't worry about it. That's me being sincere about it. Okay, I'm not telling you, yeah, great, just to keep you happy. My job is to get you results, and as long as we're on track and visually things are improving, then it may be masked by hormonal fluctuations. Don't worry about it. It will pass. Okay. Sophie, negative effects of undereating when you might think it's good as the scales drop. Okay, right. So big one, because this is something that a lot of people assume is the right thing to do, to be able to get the scales to drop faster. Weight consists of so many different things: bone density, muscle density, ligaments, tendons, organ tissue, everything, right? So if we undereat and we're putting ourselves, if we're already in a deficit and we undereat further into that deficit, you are not losing body fat, okay? If you go past a certain point, you are losing overall mass, and mass is broad, right? That could be bone density. You might not have enough calories to even maintain bone density, right? Muscle tissue is one. Yeah, we can eat into muscle tissue, and you generally find that for me, I know I use bodybuilding as a reference point, but there are a lot of ladies that go to shows and they'll look like, when they're in their off season, when they're having a lot of food, they've got loads of muscle, and when they're like on stage, they don't have as much muscle. It's almost like their muscle has disappeared. It's because they've over dieted, yeah, just to get the scale weight to go down. And actually at that point, they've lost a lot of muscle tissue. If you think what muscle tissue is, it's active tissue. It literally moves. It's there. It needs energy to be there, right? Fat, on the other hand, doesn't. It just sits there. Okay? So your body's first response when you undereat is, what is causing us the most energy being expended on a daily basis, and how can we reduce our energy output needed without doing anything? Okay, cool. Let's have a look at what's on the body that's causing the most energy expenditure. Okay, muscle tissue. Muscle tissue needs a lot of energy. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the one thing that's taking a lot of energy, because we don't need to worry about body fat, because body fat isn't requiring a lot to be there, whereas muscle is. So yeah, cool, you may see the scale weight drop if you undereat, but it doesn't mean your body composition is going to be any better. In fact, it could be worse. And I found when people undereat, what they'll do is, yes, they'll be lighter, but they'll be exactly the same body composition, just lighter, a smaller version of the same body composition. It's like if your goal is to have abs and you want to be in great shape, right? Okay, cool. Maybe the goal weight might be 115 pounds, for example. Okay, but now you've gone from 125 pounds to 115 pounds, so you've underate. You're exactly in the same body composition that you were at 125 pounds, just a smaller version of it, and less bum, less muscle tissue. You're probably worse off the way you were at 125. You're just smaller, right? Whereas if you do it the right way, when you get to 115, you will have more muscle tissue, way less body fat, and better body composition. That's why it's important to make sure you're eating enough and not too little as well. Okay. Next one. Why do I look in the mirror at the gym and think I look like Hulk Hogan when I'm at home? I look like I never stepped foot in the gym. Bro, I feel this all the time, man. It's because you got to pump. It's because you got to pump. All the blood flows in the muscle that you're training. We're our own worst critic, right? Generally, the gym will only ever give you like 3 to 5% more visual benefit, right? Like getting a pump adds a tiny bit of exaggeration to specific muscles. When you're at home, you're really not looking that different. I think we're just a little bit more analytical, a little bit more critical with our physique when we're at home. And ultimately as well, like, you know, when you're at home, it's one of those things where the lighting isn't as good, and doesn't matter how shredded, bro. I've been like 3.8% body fat before and been at home, and I've stood in the shady room looking in the mirror going, I'm fat. And like, genuinely, that's just something that most people experience. That's not something that you need to worry about. You do look great, Harry. You look good. Trust me, bro. 100%. Okay. Even this morning when I saw you, bro, your delts were popping. I know we're in a gym, but you'd finish your training session, delts were popping. You look great, bro. I wouldn't worry about it. You're just being very, very self-critical there. And we're our own worst critics. And sometimes it's very important to remember that, right? We'll always pick up on the things we want to improve on. We'll never pick up on the good things. You know, there are people that look at my physique, for example, and they're like, God, I wish I had his shoulders or his chest. And it's like, all I focus on is my back. Yeah, like, I just want my back to be better. But I don't take into consideration all the good things in my body, which I think is a good thing as long as you're aware of it, because it allows you to improve. It allows me to improve each year. But if you're not aware of it, it can be highly toxic. So make sure you're aware of it, bro. Katie, can you still build muscle size? Can you still build size in the quads if you don't fully extend? For people with patellofemoral pain, it's painful the last 30 degrees like me, so I've been avoiding the last bit of extension. Is it still a worthwhile exercise, or would a squat machine be more beneficial? I would say it's definitely still important to be able to contract the muscle, right? When you're doing a squat, at the end range of motion, you are still locking the legs. There isn't much of a variation between the leg extension. It's just if you think about a leg extension position, we're just doing a heel elevated squat. So both, depending on your foot position on a squat, are very, very similar. I would say with the leg extension, we want to go lighter. Yeah, maybe there's a little bit more emphasis there. And for you, going lighter so you can extend into that full range of motion and get a full contraction is important. We do want to get that last little bit of range, but just go lighter and look to progression in that range, rather than if your legs are here and it's fine from here to here, but you can't get right up there, then use the weight that you struggle with up here, not the weight that you find easy down here. Does that make sense? And then build on that top range of motion. And yeah, you do want to get full extension, full contraction, and it should alleviate pain in the in your patellofemoral area. If we want to be scientific, yeah, we just want to make sure that we're going into that full range of motion and just keeping the weight manageable. Yeah, ultimately we want full mobility in our body, don't we? So the goal is to get good there, to be able to load the lower quadricep up with more of the weight rather than the patella. Okay, hopefully that helps. Chris, I frequently find myself managing on only 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. How significantly does this actually impact my training? And what are some actionable strategies I can use to improve my sleep duration and quality? Mainly quality, as I don't have the time to improve duration. This is hard. So yes, it will impact training, 100%. We've already spoke about sleep quality earlier on. I would say, sleep duration earlier on. With sleep quality, the best thing you could possibly do is something my coach told me to do, because I struggle with staying asleep at night, is regulate your room temperature. Number one, your room temperature is very important. If you're too hot, your body will just automatically wake you up because it will ask you to like go and cool down. If you're too cold, equally it'll do the exact same. So you want a nice room temperature room that allows you to be under a duvet and to be able to be comfortable there without feeling like you're sweaty or you're shivering, right? That's first and foremost. Number two, limit blue light exposure half an hour before sleep. So turn off your phone, put it on do not disturb, read. Yeah, reading is really, really good for sleep quality, simply because what you're doing is, a lot of people when they lie in bed, they think about the day that's just gone or the day up ahead. When you're reading, because you have to imagine what's going on inside of that book. So say, for example, if I'm reading a book about some wonderful world with elves in, let's say, for example, right? I've got to then imagine that in my head as I'm reading it, and you're building that picture, which takes all of the stress of your day-to-day off of your mind, and it just allows you to zone into a world which is completely different, which then turns you off psychologically. You can go to sleep very well then without having to burden yourself with stress. The next thing is changing your bedding all the time. And if you're someone that struggles with sleep quality, it's like once every couple of days. I know it sounds like a ball ache, but honestly, it makes a massive difference. Yeah, your clean bedding and sleep quality, the quality of your bed, is very, very important to you staying asleep. And if you're not doing that, then you will be getting into bed and you will just feel groggy, you will feel uncomfortable, you'll feel sweaty, you'll feel not clean. And that again adds another barrier for you to be able to fall into a deep sleep, because subconsciously you know that. So changing your bedding all the time is super, super, super important. Okay. On top of that, taking magnesium is really, really good before bed. It just gets rid of that fight or flight response from a hard training session. So it just, again, in magnesium, they use magnesium with horses as a horse tranquilizer, right? We obviously do not need the level that horses would take, nor should you be taking that. I'm not advocating to take a horse tranquilizer, but I'm saying that if you have magnesium in the body, it will assist with falling into a deeper sleep. Yeah, and it won't improve you going to sleep, but it will improve your sleep quality. You'll fall into a deeper sleep and you'll feel like, even though you've got 4 to 5 hours, you potentially had 7 or 8. That's really, really good. Okay. And the last thing is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is good as well if you suffer from a lot of low-key anxiety. And low-key anxiety is something that most of us suffer with. It's stress of what's upcoming in your week, stress of what you may have to deal with when you wake up, when you look at your phone and WhatsApp or whatever. Ashwagandha lowers cortisol levels in the body, so that actually allows you to be able to deal with stress a lot better at nighttime, and that's really, really useful. Yeah, it's one that I use during prep. I use ashwagandha during prep just because I know that like I'm already heightened off the back of like hitting my meal targets. I'm probably a bit hungry, so I'm stressed about that. And I've never been in a prep where I haven't had a lot of work stuff going on, so I'm always thinking about the next thing. So taking ashwagandha lowers my stress levels down, my stress hormone down. Taking magnesium helps as well, and just sleep quality in the bedroom, and boom, you're sorted. Okay. And Katie, I've just got another, if it's too late, link with heavy lifting and varicose veins in legs. If they start to appear, how to reduce the pressure in the cardio system to reduce them getting worse. A lot of it comes down to just blood flow, improved blood flow through the body. So whilst yes, cardiovascular work does definitely help, because ultimately if your blood has got better blood flow around the body, which is what our cardiovascular system does, then you are limiting varicose veins. If you feel like they are becoming more and more prevalent, even with cardiovascular work in your plan, and you don't need to do an extortionate amount of it. You don't have to be like blasting out 45 minutes of running every day or whatever. It could be low intensity, steady state, like 15 to 20 minutes. If you feel like even with that in place, it's still not getting better, then at that point, it's a case of going to the doctors straight away and finding out how you can improve blood flow down to your legs, very similar to what Simon was mentioning before. So just going to them and going, look, I'm getting varicose veins. How can I improve blood flow to my legs? And they'll either prescribe you medication for it, or they'll potentially give you some room moving forwards from there. And stretching as well is very important. Okay, it's all about blood flow. So yeah, stretching is very important down to the quadriceps and hamstrings. Don't worry about the hips, worry about the quadriceps and the hamstrings. Quad stretches, hamstring stretch. Okay, start with those. All right. A lot of people worry about the hips too much. And you're like, to be honest, their hips aren't the thing that's tight. It's the quads, it's the hamstrings. Yeah, there's the very tight top of the muscle, which is causing a lot of compression, which means that we need to loosen those areas off. Okay. So I think that's everything. It seemed like a lot of questions. So I've tried to keep it short and sweet on those because sometimes they get like, they call it like brain, can't remember what they actually call it, but basically it's where it's like you try and, there's so much information in your brain, you don't know what information to share. So you end up talking for like 15 minutes and just rambling on. So hopefully I've answered those in the best way possible for you guys. If you've got any more questions and you're on the chat, fire them away. I'm going to be here for the next 5 minutes. Fire them away. Happy to have a debate with someone on it as well. If anybody wants to debate it, let's do it. Let's go. I'm open to it. I'm open to people sharing their opinions on stuff. As long as it's right. My right. Really kidding. I don't know if Jake's still here, but hopefully you're ready for a lovely holiday, mate. Don't know if you're already away yet, but if you are, enjoy yourself, man. You work hard, deserve it. All right then, guys. So I think we're pretty much there. Do you see any questions popping up? No worries, Simon. Hopefully you enjoyed it, man. Glad you joined in. Jake, I'm still here, bro, and it's too hot. Bless you, man. Bless you. Mate, enjoy it. It's England. We never get this kind of weather. So I know you're like Casper the Friendly Ghost and probably allergic to the sunshine. But try and enjoy it. Just stick to the shade. Otherwise you'll end up looking like a swashy. All right, then, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Have an awesome rest of your day, guys. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you on the Thursday podcast. Jake will be back for the Thursday podcast, so we will be having a chat then. But if you've got any more questions in the meantime, feel free to WhatsApp them over. If you want to have like a quick phone call, if you're really stuck with something, I'm more than happy to do that. My job is to make sure you guys get the best results humanly possible. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you guys got a lot of information from this morning, and I will speak to you either in the gym or via WhatsApp. Have an awesome rest of your week, guys. Much love.